I'm sorry, but I don't want to be an emperor. That's not my business. In this world, there's room for everyone, and the good earth is rich and can provide for everyone. The way of life can be free and beautiful, but we have lost the way. Greed has poisoned men's souls, has barricaded the world with hate. We think too much and feel too little. Think too much and feel too little. More than machinery, we need humanity. More than cleverness, we need kindness. Without these qualities, life will be violent. No one will be lost. No one will be lost. Do not despair. The hate of men will pass, and dictators die. Dictators die. And the power they took from the people will return to the people. Will return to the people. Let us all unite. Let us fight for a new world, to do away with greed. Now let us fight to free the world, to fulfill that promise. Let us all unite.
Welcome, folks, to the Corporation Nation radio program. It's Friday, 21st of March, 2014. Oh, you know what? I think we'll just take some calls today, but I do have a little article here that came out in the USA Today. You know, thank goodness that restaurants have these horrible newspapers that you can just grab and sort of look, you know, and because otherwise I'd never get this kind of story. It's kind of a funny one. In fact, I'm thinking about suing for slander. Let me tell you why. It says, health conspiracy theories are still out there. That's the title. Survey finds low level of trust in business and government by Kim Painter, special for the USA Today. Health conspiracy theories still out there. Here's what it says. I got a kick out of this. I figured you would too. Nearly half of American adults believe the federal government, corporations, or both are involved in at least one conspiracy to cover up health information, a new survey finds. Well, shoot, I could prove it. At least one, if not 20,000. Conspiracy theories on everything from cancer cures to cell phones to vaccines are accepted by sizable segments of the population, says the research letter published this week in JAMA Internal Medicine. I believe JAMA is the Journal of American Medical Association, if I'm not mistaken. The findings reflect, quote, a very low level of trust, unquote, in government and business, especially in pharmaceutical companies, says study co-author Eric Oliver, a professor of political science at the University of Chicago. Well, that's, you know, considering that one of the number 3 leading cause of death is drugs and doctors? They also reflect a human tendency to explain the unknown as the work of malevolent forces. He says. The online survey of 1,351 adults found that 37% agree the Food and Drug Administration is keeping natural cures for cancer and other diseases away from the public because of pressure from drug companies. Well, we know that's true. The FDA is part of government. Government's one of the main investors in the drug companies. Therefore, drug companies aren't interested in curing cancers or disease because they have to please their shareholders and make them a profit. Cures aren't profitable. What are you thinking? Why, this is so easy to take apart. 20% believe health officials are hiding evidence that cell phones cause cancer. Well, God, the evidence is out there. It's not that hard to find. 20% believe doctors and health officials push child vaccines, even though they know these vaccines cause autism and other psychological disorders. Smaller numbers endorse theories involving fluoride, genetically modified foods, and the deliberate infection of African Americans with HIV. Well, there again, it's not too hard to find this stuff, thanks to our vaccines. 49% believe at least one of the theories, and 18% believe at least 3 of these theories. There are a lot of people out there that harbor those beliefs, Oliver says, even in the face of evidence to the contrary, he says, such as the many studies showing no link between autism and vaccines. Well, now, let me ask you there, Mr. Oliver, how do you prove a negative? How do you actually come up and say that there is a study that conclusively can show that something is not causing something else, especially when it's within the body and it happens over a slow kill period of long time? Really? Studies showing no link between autism and vaccines? Of course, they don't give any of these studies. They don't quote them or name them. Where do people get this stuff, he asks. I'm raising my hand right now. You can't see it, but I'm telling Mr. Oliver that's me. Where do people get this stuff, he asks. When it comes to health, sources include friends and family, but also celebrity doctors online and on TV, according to the survey results not included in the research letter, Oliver says. The beliefs also go along with certain health behaviors, the survey found. And you see, this is where he gets into the bane of scientific evidence. The worst possible kind of studies are called cohort studies. Cohort studies are one of the most ridiculous things, and I'll explain what that is after the break, what they do with vaccines, actually. It's pretty funny, the way they justify what they call their studies showing no link between these things. So I'll explain that. But, the beliefs also go along with certain health behaviors. We already read that. Those who believe at least 3 health conspiracy theories are less likely to use sunscreen. Or get flu shots, and are more likely to use herbal remedies and eat, wait for it, organic foods. That's right. Those crazy conspiracy theorists actually use herbal remedies and eat organic foods. By God. I must be one of those malevolent forces they're talking about that have done this, that have created monsters who eat organic foods and use herbal remedies. Shame! Shame on me. Maybe I should tell everybody, I was just making observations. You should all get your flu shots. Honest. Never mind the Prions. Never mind all of the adjuvants. Never mind the squalene. Never mind that Eileen Danneman came out and found that there was a 2,500% increase in stillborn babies thanks to the swine flu vaccine. Never mind. Take your vaccines. What we take away from that fact, the fact about the crazy people taking herbal remedies and eating organic foods, those conspiracy theorists, what we take away from that is that people who embrace these conspiracies are very suspicious of traditional evidence-based medicine. Oh, evidence-based medicine. You ever seen those commercials on TV where they try to sell you some of this evidence-based medicine? Where they say, hey, this will cure your cholesterol problem, even though they just finally published, after years of years, they finally just published that cholesterol is not caused by what they say it was. Finally, they came out with it. In fact, cholesterol is good for you. There's no bad cholesterol. That's all crap. You know why they got rid of LDL? You know why they said LDL is bad for you? Well, in the article I'm writing and the patents I'm reading, it's because it interferes with, drumroll please, prion infection. That's right. LDL interferes with the ability of prions to malform your cells, so that interferons come along and interfere with the disease process. That's right. Why do you think they called LDL bad cholesterol? Evidence-based medicine. We'll get into cohort studies after we get back.
Oh, there's a solution.
So let me tell you why. When a paper like this, a study like this, when a newspaper quotes a government study, the ones that actually, get out there for people, for me, I have to search pretty greatly to find what I find. But the ones that actually are, out there that supposedly prove that vaccines work and all that, well, why is government research actually bogus? That's the real question. Of course, the FDA doesn't really test anything. It allows the companies themselves to test their own products. It doesn't necessarily check what's in those products either. So, something labeled as one thing could very easily be something else, especially if it's coming from China or, God forbid, Israel. You see, researchers can't exactly pin down who has influenza and who doesn't. When you actually look at who has and who dies from influenza, it's a very, very, very small number. They say 36,000 people died of influenza, but in reality, no one actually dies of influenza. Well, I should say, maybe a few hundred, actually, maybe even 1,000 people might die of influenza. When you actually look at the vital statistics records of government, you see a whole different thing. People die of pneumonia. People die of lots of different things. They label them all as flu, but they're not flu. In fact, very, very few of the symptoms that are gotten by people throughout the so-called flu season are actually flu, it turns out. So they can't really tell who has influenza and who doesn't. They're just treating symptoms. That's what they're trained to do. The research conducted, therefore, on the effectiveness of vaccines basically just calculates the death rate from all causes among those who take the vaccine and those who don't. So you've got two groups. You've got the vaccine takers and the people who don't take vaccines. All right? The problem is that these people don't necessarily die because of the flu. In other words, those who didn't get the vaccine, they count their deaths. This is what a cohort study is, and this is why they use them, because they're complete fallacious, a lot of crap, basically. So when you're counting who actually dies of vaccines, because they didn't get a vaccine, and supposedly they're dying of the flu, well, they include deaths from, say, car accidents, heart attacks, other medications, wrecks, basically any type of death goes into the study. So you don't have to die of a flu or flu-like symptoms or even something like pneumonia to actually be counted as, in a study, as a flu victim. You might not have ever had the flu. The point is, you didn't take a vaccine and you died. That's the only thing that matters in a cohort study, because then, you see, what happens is they know that people who do take vaccines are people who are more careful. They don't do a lot of the things that some of the educated people do, or that, there's certain statistics that go into cohort reports that are very important. They know that people that take vaccines are probably 9-to-5ers, they have a family, they're going to get their kids vaccinated, whereas those who don't actually have time. Maybe they're disenfranchised, maybe they're unemployed like me. I'll get to what that means in a bit. Not what you think. So, yeah, basically, we're just talking about a death study. It doesn't matter what you die from. It's going to count as a flu death. And that's how they get these studies to do it. Studies, they show a dramatic difference between the death rates of those who get the vaccine and those who don't. People who get vaccinated have significantly lower death rates from all causes. All causes. People who get vaccines have lower death rates from all causes. Now, that might surprise people, because remember, it doesn't do drug companies that much good to kill people, but it does do them good to get them sick. So, yeah. because those people probably have insurance to take care of their illness. It's a big scam. Flu shot propaganda cites that all these studies telling people that if they get their flu shots every year, they'll have significantly reduced chance of dying in that year, not long term. But this extremely misleading. And these cohort studies are very, very criticized. Compared to the number of deaths from all cases, the number of people killed by influenza, again, is quite small. According to the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, deaths from influenza account for, at most, 10% of the total deaths during the flu season. Did you get that? And this includes all the indirect deaths aggravated by the flu. So you might have the flu, but the flu doesn't really kill. It might cause some other form of death. Pneumonia is one of them. But the flu doesn't kill. This information comes from Does the Vaccine Matter by Sharon Brownlee and Janine Lenzer, I believe it is, the Atlantic, November 2009 issue. So it brings up an important dilemma here. If influenza only accounts for roughly 10% of the deaths, all deaths, during the flu season, how could an influenza vaccine reduce total deaths in the population by 50%? That's what they claim. That's what vaccine manufacturers claim. They say that all the people who get the flu vaccines, yep, guess what? We're gonna cut the death rate in half. But that's impossible, because only 10% of all deaths during the flu season are actually influenza-related, let alone caused by influenza. Even if that vaccines were 100% effective, it would only be possible that they only reduce the total death rates by 10%. It's like the worst kind of logic. When you use cohort studies, there is no possible way to get the correct information, and that's exactly why government counts on them, why drug companies count on them. For a vaccine to reduce mortality by 50% and up to 90% in some studies that are shown, means it has to prevent deaths not from influenza, but also from falls, fires, heart disease, strokes, and car accidents. All right? What does that make the vaccine? That makes it a miracle. That makes vaccines a miracle, apparently from the hand of God himself. Because that little shot would prevent a car accident. My God, it's a shot of fate. Amazing. You see how these studies work? They are completely bogus. So how do they come up with 50% reduction in death rate statistic? Cohort studies, of course, through cohort studies. Cohort studies compare the death rates of large groups of people who received the vaccine to large groups of people who did not receive the vaccine. But there's a fatal flaw in this approach. People self-select for vaccinations. And statistically, what kind of people? Again, it turns out people who take more precautions with their health. They've been fooled. Even while they're taking care of their health, they're injecting themselves with a thing that's going to destroy it eventually. Slow kill. All right, folks, we'll be back. Stay tuned. It's kind of funny to think of it this way, but basically the reason they use these cohort studies for vaccine to show that vaccines work is because they know that people who don't take vaccines are going to die more often than people who do. Because a lot of reasons, for instance, it turns out that actually healthy people, until recently, according to the USA Today, a large percentage of people take vaccines who are extremely, extremely healthy, do not eat junk food, do not, watch all of their intake of everything. So they're extremely healthy people. Naturally, they go get vaccines because they believe they've been taught that that's what they should do to stay healthy. Of course. They're educated, you see. So it also doesn't take into consideration that people who are more poor and who are disenfranchised, unemployed, as I said, have a lot more time to actually read and find out that this propaganda about vaccines isn't actually true. Take myself, for example. Right? So it's a unique kind of twisted research that allows them to show that vaccines reduce mortality. That was the whole point, is to show that vaccines actually reduce mortality. So what did they do? Well, after showing that it was all crap, that people were basically warned that we're doing this. Hey, don't continue this. There was a girl named Lisa Jackson. She and three other researchers began to study widely quoted vaccine statistics in an attempt to identify what they called a healthy user effect. Healthy user effect basically meant that healthy people were getting vaccines and not dying in that particular year, basically, as opposed to people who didn't get vaccines, who were dying, not of the flu, but of other car crashes and acts of God and that kind of thing. So, the healthy user effect, if any. So they looked through 8 years of medical data covering 72,000 people aged 65 and older, good target group, and recorded who received flu shots and who didn't. They then compared the death rates for all causes outside of the flu season. And, of course, what she found blows a hole completely through the vaccine industry. I mean, it was published. Published information. Incredible. Outside the flu season, she found the death rate was 60% higher among those who did not get vaccines than among those who did. Now, government's going to say, see, these people didn't get the vaccine. Look, they have a higher death rate. But that doesn't correlate to anything having to do with the flu. It's just a statistic that they throw at you that has nothing to do with what they're selling. In other words, even when you take the flu season completely out of the question, elderly people who don't get vaccines have other lifestyle factors that make them far more likely to die from lots of other causes. She found that the so-called healthy user effect explains the entire apparent benefit that continues to be attributed to vaccines. This finding demonstrates that the flu vaccine most likely has no beneficial effect whatsoever in reducing mortality, and that's exactly how it was printed. Now, it's interesting because there are some statistics that I was going to put in my second vaccine movie that really tend to agree. Now, let's take 2004, for example. Vaccine production was low. There was a shortage in vaccines, actually a 40% reduction in vaccine manufacturing. So, what happened? Surely, if vaccines actually worked, then in a year when the vaccine wasn't available to be administered to at least 40% of the people who would normally get it every year, it should have resulted in a huge a statistical bomb of many people dying, at least 10% of those 40%, you'd think. But, it should have spiked the death rates, in other words. There should have been a significant change that year in 2004 for the 40% who could not get their hands on the vaccine. Morgues should have been filled, but not so much. In fact, nothing happened. Death rates didn't go up at all. And yet they're claiming it takes down the death rate. In the history of flu vaccine, there were actually 2 years in which the formulated, in other words, guessed flu vaccine was a complete mismatch to the widely circulating, constantly mutating influenza strain that made people sick in those years. 1968, 1997. In both of those years, the vaccine was a complete mismatch for the circulating virus. In other words, if you would have gotten the vaccine and it actually did work, it would have been the wrong medicine. It would have been the wrong virus. It would not have affected the actual production of flu virus in your body. It would not fight the disease. It would not create antibodies for the mutated virus. Now, keep in mind that the influenza virus is the most, it mutates the most out of all of the quote-unquote viruses, whatever that means. And that's why they like it so much, actually. You have every office in government. I actually had that in my movie trailer for Lethal Injection. Every office out there, from the WHO to the Health and Human Services to the CDC, they're all telling you very clearly, we cannot predict what the flu vaccine or flu strain is going to be. We cannot. It's impossible. And you'll notice, and keep in mind that it takes about 6 months to actually test a vaccine. So if the flu season doesn't start till, around October, right? How are they guessing the strain of flu that's going around and then releasing the actual vaccine 3 or 4 months before October in June, July, or August? You want to answer me that question? How is it that you can have a full... Well, you can't. That's the point. You cannot test a vaccine. It's obviously an untested. Every year, the flu vaccine is untested. That's what I'm saying. All right? Every year. It has to be by logical deduction. They cannot test a vaccine when it takes 6 months to test, and it's already out by August before the strain of influenza is even out by, October? So there is no testing. There is no safety protocol. There is nothing. Nothing. 1968, 1997, both of these years, the vaccine was a complete mismatch for the circulating virus. So nobody was actually vaccinated for the flu that year. What happened? Well, if the vaccine itself was effective in reducing death rates, then we should once again have seen a huge spike in death. It should have been dead people. People should have been falling dead all over the place, right? Especially the elderly, right? Because it protects the elderly. During these 2 years, you should have been seeing huge, huge death rates. If the vaccine reduces death rates by 50%, as claimed by vaccine manufacturers, then these 2 years should have been amazing, amazing years for death. Should have been a celebration of death from flu, right? But what actually happened? Nothing. Nothing changed. Statistics say the same. Same amount of people died as they usually would any year. Because the flu vaccine doesn't do anything except harm you, because what's in the vaccine is harmful. I wonder if the USA Today would publish this particular story. I bet they wouldn't. No, they'll just call me a conspiracy theory or theorist, even though I'm reading you something right out of the Atlantic Journal. What can you do, huh? What can you do? Now, I said that I'm unemployed. What does that mean, really? Does that mean I don't work? Oh, absolutely not. I do lots of work. I have to prep for this show. I have to eventually go out and make some cash so that I can eat. You know, I work on a farm. But I'm not employed. And I'll tell you why. You shouldn't be either after the break.
was successfully completed. Reality.
Welcome again to this neighborhood. I'd like to show you something. You know what this is? Or maybe if I press this button. Imagine every person that you see is somewhat different from every other person in the world. Some can do some things, some can do others. Did you ever think of the many things you learned to do?
Hi, folks.
Welcome
back. Here in the Corporation Nation. Oh, so why am I not employed, and why should you not be employed? What do you think employed actually means? You think I don't work? Oh, boy, do I work. But I'm not employed. Why not? Why would I not be employed? Well, we have to go and, of course, study the origin of words. That's why, because you see, I never knew what employment was until just recently when I started studying words. Why do you think government keeps track of who's employed and unemployed? Huh? Well, it's because you're all financial instruments to government. So naturally, they're going to look at you for your future output. That's what they base your value on. Some refer to this as a time currency, if you will. So let's read what employ means, shall we? Now, of course, we're in the 1828 dictionary, so the first definition is generally more to the tune of what it should be. So to employ is to occupy the time, attention, and labor of, or to keep busy. This is why they call corporations, they call it business. Busyness. Busy, 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 busy. That way you can't learn what it is that you're employed to. Attention and labor of to keep busy, or to work, or to use. Are you employed? Well, you're being used. That really spells usury. You are being used. We employ our hands in labor. We employ our heads, our facilities in study or thought. The attention is sometimes employed. When the mind is fixed or occupied upon an object, we employ time. When we devote it to the object. Webster, of course, says a portion of time should be daily employed in reading the scriptures, meditation, and prayer. A great portion of life is employed to little profit or to very bad purposes. Now, here's where it gets interesting, because the more you read, the more you get into the legal type of meanings. To use as an instrument. That's what employ means. To use as an instrument, financial instrument, or means. We engage, there's a new word. We engage in one's service to use as an agent or substitute in transacting business, to commission and entrust with the management of one's affairs. The president employed an envy to negotiate a treaty. To occupy. Okay, now we're in the good stuff. What does employ really mean? To occupy, to use, to apply or devote to an object, to pass in business as to employ time, to employ an hour, a day, or a week, to employ one's life. To employ oneself is to apply or devote one's time and attention to busy one's self. Here's the legal noun. That which engages, again, we see the word engage, that which engages the mind or occupies the time and labor of a person, business, object or study, or industry. Employment. Well, remember, what meant always means is mind. So what are corporations and government doing when they, quote unquote, create jobs? Well, they're employing you in what? employment. They're occupying, because that's what employ means. They're using, that's what employ means. Your ment, your mentis, your mind. Government means control of the mind. Govern or gouverner, mind, control. Employ means occupy. Entertainment means to enter and hold. That's what to tain actually means when you look at it etymology. Okay, entertainment, to enter and hold the mind. That's what happens when you listen to and watch the television. What happens? Occupation, public office, agency, service for another. If you're employable, that which may be employed, capable of being used. You got that? If you're employed and you take upon the status of being employed, you're capable of being used. You're fit or proper for use. Because what's really employed, let's face it, it's not you. It's your person. It's your financial instrument. That's what's employed. All you're doing is the hard labor. Pushing papers, you're doing the physical stuff. But what's really employed is your artificial nature. Oh, that's an oxymoron. Your artificial person. If you're employed, you are occupied. You are fixed or engaged. There's that word again. What's an employer? One who employs, one who occupies you, one who uses. All right, well, okay. So what is what then could possibly the word engage mean? To make liable for a debt to a creditor. To bind oneself as a surety. What do you think happens when you get engaged to be married? You've made a pledge to be in a three-way contract with the state and a woman or man. That's what you do. That's what your engagement is. To pawn, to stake as a pledge, to enlist. So why am I not employed? Well, I'd like to think I have a pretty good reason, and I just read it. Employ means, engage means to occupy, to employ assiduously. To unite and bind by contract or promise. How do you like that? Do you like being occupied? Do you like being bound by contract as an employee, which gives you all of the quote-unquote benefits of the citizen? Huh? Do you like the benefits which make you quote-unquote subject to the quote-unquote obligations that government gives you, including paying punishment, taxes, extortion, exaction? That's what it means to be employed. Now, I'm not unemployed either. Please keep that in mind. I'm not a status. I have no status anymore. I don't admit to it. I don't show it. I don't claim it. I don't engage in it. I don't occupy it, and I am not used. It's really simple, really. But I suppose that makes me one of those statistically bad people. I'm a bum, right? Is that what I am? I'm a bum because I'm not gainfully employed. Why do they use the word gain? It's not because you're gaining. It's because the government is gaining, because the government is the economy. Oh, man. You know, I had a couple other words. Well, the word en is an interesting word. The word en actually refers to the word in. So in. When you engage, you are in engaged. You are in something. When you're injured, it brings you into the law if you so choose. You can't really invoke the law unless you are injured, unless there's a controversy, in other words. So, well, gosh, what does that mean then? Well, as an employee, you're entrusted. You're entrusted with a lot of things. What does that mean? Well, you'll have to wait. We're going to go to a break. After the break, we'll take some calls. Call-in numbers 1-800-313-9443, 313-9443. We'll be back, folks.
Don't give yourselves to brutes, men who despise you, enslave you, tell you what to do, what to think, and what to feel, who drill you, diet you, treat you like cattle. Don't give yourselves to these unnatural men with machine minds and machine hearts. You are not machines, you are men. You, the people, have the power to make this life free and beautiful. Let us use that power to make this life a wonderful adventure. Let us all unite. Let us fight for a new world to do away with greed. A world where science and progress will lead to all men's happiness. Do not despair. The hate of men will pass and dictators die. And the power they took from the people will return to the people. Let us all unite.
Welcome back, folks, to the Corporation Nation radio program. I'm Clint Richardson. Again, the call-in number is 313-9443. That's 800-313-9443. Now, what should you be... What should you be? Let me give you an example of how I employ my time. You see, I don't do it in usury. I do it for things that... you could say I tithe. I research and I write and I offer it for free to people so that they understand things. I spent the other day, half the day, nursing a lamb back to health whose mother had abandoned him. Not because I was going to get paid for it, but because the farmer didn't have time to do it. That's a great way to employ my time. Great way that everybody should be employing their time is in their garden. If you're employed to your garden, well, your garden is nature. Nature doesn't have a binding contract. If you want to eat, you better darn well take care of the nature. But you see, when you're employed with someone else, you're bound in usury. A big difference. What did people used to do for work? Well, they used to have farms. They used to have ranches. They used to have tribes. They used to travel. They didn't stay in one place and absorb all of the natural resources until they were almost gone and then have crises because there's no more natural resources. They had less cities and more moving people, to quote the Fix. Where are you employed? That's the question. Where is your soul employed? So, there's another word that I want to get across to people. Because again, you have to look these things up. What is sodomy? What is a sodomite? Oh, well, that's someone in sexual crime. No. That's just what's been sold to us because, again, sex sells. What is sodomy? Well, it's described as an inhabitant of Sodom, but it's also described in the legal construct as one guilty of sodomy. Oh, okay. Well, then what's sodomy? A crime against nature. Okay, that's it. It doesn't say what crime. It doesn't say how, when, why, or what. It has nothing to do with sex, although that could be a crime, I suppose. A crime against nature. What is government? What is government? Is it natural? Does it do everything it can to take away our natural state of being? What is government? Are we all inhabitants of Sodom? Well, if sodomy is a crime against nature, then absolutely. We are all guests. We are all tenants. We are registered in sodomy, or artificial persons. We are all crimes against nature. And we're all using them, we're all employing them, and binding ourselves outside of nature. That's, oh, what a mess. So, the word entrust. Now, I got this new document, and it's pretty cool. In fact, let me tell you the name of it. You can actually look it up for yourself. It's called Legal Terms of Control/Power. Legal Terms of Control/Power. It's a good little document because it goes into, well, my favorite, etymology. What is common? Everybody just loves to be common. Common people. We're all just common. Common is from the 13th century Latin, meaning communis. Yeah, communis, meaning to entrust, to commit to a burden, a public duty, a service, or an obligation. That's you. You're the common folk. You're the people. Like it or not, it's created by the combination of two ancient pre-Vatican Latin words, com and committo. To entrust and commit, and munis, burden, public duty, service, or obligation. Basically, since the early days of the Roman cult, the word has literally implied willing consent to public order and control over the many. Control over the quote-unquote common man. The word acquired its historical meaning as an insult by nobles and clergy against the ignorant and uneducated. Why do you think they created the common law for the common people? And of course, they claim to be above the law, so they don't need common law. They're God. The ignorant and the uneducated. That's what common refers to. That's what they call you. They don't call you that because it's just a name. They call you it as an insult. Especially tradespeople. Oh, that's the workers. And the women. My God. Women are common. From the 14th century at the time, it was first used to describe the commons. The third estate of the English people is represented in Parliament from 1377. The word has since retained both its assumed meaning as representing in general the public or all people, the many, the multitude, the useful idiots, the useless eaters, if you will, as well as a term of insult by the wealthy and elite against the public ever since. Dualistic meaning. Common laws from 14th century English. Following the formation of the Commons, the third estate in the English people is represented in Parliament from 1377. Therefore, the popular but incorrect assumed meaning of common law is being the law of the people. That's incorrect. In a strict literal sense, the correct etymological meaning of common law is more accurately defined as the laws to entrust. There's that word again. The laws to entrust. Commit to a burden, public duty, service, or obligation. That's common law. Completely opposite to the popular misinterpretation of the phrase. Just like we have interpreted the concept that we have constitutional rights without ever understanding that that is not the case, that there is no such thing. Even when they will even say the term constitutional rights to keep you believing that you have them. How can a paper give you rights? It doesn't. No. The Constitution only restricts government. It gives you no rights. You can read this in countless court cases. The main procedural foundations of common law since its inception remains the false Roman law, Venetian law, more commonly known as maritime law or admiralty law. This is, of course, why you'll see admiralty or maritime law written in the Constitution. That is the common law, the law of the merchant. Introduced in the 12th and early 13th century during the creation of the highest legal personality under common law, the Holy See. S-E-E. Law of the sea represents the Holy See, not the water. We'll be back.
It is like a finger pointing away to the moon. Don't concentrate on the finger or you will miss all that heavenly glory. Empty your mind, be formless, shapeless, like water, like water. Water can flow or it can crash.
All right, folks.
Be water, my friend.
We're back. Ah, yes, the Holy See, the law of the sea. Perhaps you've heard of the law of the sea treaty. Well, that's not really talking about water. It's really talking about the Holy S-E-E. Under the corrupted Roman law of the Roman cult, living men and women are considered vessels upon the sea of commerce, if you will. Right? Even in the Constitution, it talks about vessels. Vessels being your body, carrying around your essence, your soul. Men and women are considered vessels subject to the jurisdiction of the sea. That's the Holy See, with the watermark of all nations, with diplomatic recognition, concordance of the sea, set at the highest mountain peaks. Hence, all land is therefore under the sea, the law of the sea, and property of the sea. It is within, in other words, the sea. However, in many jurisdictions, custom law is also accepted as part of the common law, thus providing some relief. In other words, whatever it is that we believe still, oh yes, we're a free country, yeah. When martial law took over, as we discussed, the common law that we carried over from England basically stayed the same. Yes, it stayed the same. It pretends to be the law of the free, but in reality, it's a military court of war, common law of war. Because really what the Bible actually stands for, what was the word? I can't remember. Good news of military victory is what the gospel, the word gospel actually stands for. Good news of military victory. That's why the Bible talks about the Lord God as opposed to God in the heavens. The vicar. Let's see. However, in many jurisdictions, custom law is also accepted as part of the common law, thus providing some relief. In the late 16th and 17th century, common law was further modified with the introduction of the legal fictions, legal procedures, and precedents in courts, which enabled in Jesuit-constructed works embedded in popular culture and plays. Today, common law is incorrectly and deliberately defined as a law established by precedent, in other words, by courts, from judicial decisions and established within a community. Well, it's established by the Inns of Court. You want to know what that is? Go look it up. That's what the bar is. Now, let's go back here for a moment, because what does this say again? The laws to entrust, to commit to a burden or public duty, the service or obligation to the state, basically. Well, I guess that means we're going to have to look up entrust. Now, entrust is not actually a word in the dictionary. So you look up the word en. En points to the word in. In, defined also as N-E-N, denotes to be present or enclosed in something surrounded by limits. As in a city. Excuse me. In the name. Invoking, swearing, declaring, praying, basically declaring your name. All right, so we have to go to entrust then. I-N, trust, to find the actual word entrust. Well, obviously it means that you're in a trust. What does it mean to entrust something? Well, to entrust is to deliver in trust, to confide to the care of, to commit to another with confidence in his fidelity. Of course, that's a financial term. As to entrust a servant with one's money or goods, or to entrust money or goods to a servant. We entrust an agent, that's an attorney, or factor with commercial businesses, or we entrust commercial concerns to an agent. We entrust our friends with secrets, or entrust secrets to them. To be entrusted is to be delivered in to a trust, or to be delivered in trust, committed to the hands or care of another. Faithful. Confidence that you will be faithful in the discharging of your duty. What is duty? Debt. That's why debt can't be discharged in a permanent status, so you're always going to be discharging your duty. That is why they put entrust in the same definition with burden, public duty, service, and obligation. Common is an insult. You useless eaters, you people who must be depopulated, that's what it is. How do you like them apples? Maybe you should start growing your own apples. That's the reality. Well, so far, no calls. I guess nobody likes me anymore. 1-800-313-9443. 313-9443. We're open for business. Oh, boy. Let's see. Well, boy, I'm running out of things here. We're coming up to a break. We will probably talk about more words if no one's going to call in. Jeez, I must not be very popular. I don't know what to do. Oh, let's see. Well, folks, I hope that these words, they resonate with you, and you start understanding how it is that you're a consideration in this society. And of course, a consideration is one of those words that also probably needs to be defined because, again, I'm talking about a financial instrument. You are literally what do you call those reports that they come out with? Where they do the vital statistics. If you look at the back of a CAFR, for instance, you'll see the statistics area where they break everybody down by what their income is, whether they're employed or not employed, unemployed, employed, legal status, how much money they're going to earn, how much money they did earn, how much taxes they're going to spend, what their future revenue is going to be worth. In other words, what their time currency is worth. How can we use them? What can we tax them without them revolting? That's essentially what's going on in the back of every CAFR. report. It guesses what the average age is going to be for people to die. And, of course, they're really trying to hit that, around the 65 to 70 age. So they don't have to pay too many benefits because that's bad for business. And, of course, government is a business. Why do I say that? Well, in the CAFR, they list their business activities. Governmental and non-governmental. Business type and governmental. Two different concepts. We'll be back.
Wake up, wake up, wake up and look around you. We're lost in space and the earth is your home. And the men who hold high places must be the ones who start to mold a new reality closer to the heart, closer to the heart. The blacksmith and the artist reflected in their art.
All right, folks, welcome back. I was beginning to think people didn't like me anymore, but we finally got a couple calls. Whew. Let's take Fred in Michigan. Welcome to the show, Fred.
Hey, Clint.
What's going on, my
I
friend?
was so infatuated and captivated by your presentation that I forgot that you said, okay, yeah, we can call in.
I hypnotized you?
You're relaying such stellar, crucial intel. It's really easy to kick back and just be assimilated, right? This is the best assimilation, okay? As opposed to the Borg, of course, which is a metaphor.
That was the first thing I thought of, actually.
And strangely, I heard a presentation by Tom Horn, who's authored a couple books about the Vatican and the popes, and most recent one, Zenith 2016. Well, anyhow, he referred to the Vatican Observatory Research Group, the Borg. Can you just see, these cardinal types with a V-shaped, hat on there, maybe made of gold, kind of like the capstone on the pyramid. So now, who knows, maybe it was a papal conspiracy. The Black Pope and the Jesuits, they were the ones that stole the golden capstone off the Great Pyramid. But I digress. Hey, speaking of vaccinations, there's a sweetheart of a lady, Elaine, F as in Francis, E. Edward, U. E. R. Perhaps you've heard of her book. I think it's pretty stellar. Innocent Casualties, the FDA's War on Humanity. Kind of like Efren Zimbalist Jr., the FBI. Well, Elaine Thor's response is Innocent Casualties, the FDA's War on Humanity. And, of course, Bill Gates and Ted Turner and Maurice Strong and even good old Jacques Cousteau, God rest his merry soul, way down there in the Mariana Trench, hopefully. They want to downsize, right? Like Michael Moore and the General Motors. We've got to downsize the planet's population.
Got to get rid of some employees.
Georgia Guidestones, we've got to get it down to at least 500,000. Ted Turner says 250 would be better.
Well, there certainly are a lot of quotes out there from these people, and that's that's one of those things I really can't comprehend, how someone like Kissinger, for instance, could possibly still be in government while being quoted in such a way. Rockefeller, any of those guys, after saying something like Well, especially like Rockefeller, because they started the American Medical Association, for God's sake. For them to actually make quotes about depopulating, and then all the evidence points to vaccines being the depopulation method of choice besides war. I mean, for God's sake, how could we possibly sit back and accept that anything coming out of the American Medical Association is good for us? I mean, it's amazing, right?
In fact, the Rockefeller Foundation, in conjunction with, I think, UCal Berkeley, maybe, found a book in the university library called The Molecular Vision of Life. The Molecular Vision of Life. Oh, man. The blueprint for global depopulation, in essence. But I want to give you a real-world experience, two of them. I was caring for a dear loved one for 8 years that was in dialysis for 6 of those years. And one late summer, early fall, the charge nurse was going around patient to patient in the dialysis clinic, informing them that they were going to be administered 4 shots. And that was Hep B, smallpox, pneumonia, and flu. All 4. And these are, a lot of these kidney patients go up even into their early 80s. So I inquired as to the valid scientific research study data for safety and efficacy on these shots in combination, because they never do anything in combination. None of the pharmaceuticals, I call them pharmaceuticidal petrochemicals, they never test these pharmaceuticidal petrochemicals in combination. It's always one at a time, and then when the damning data starts manifesting, they shut the study down. We got to bring it to market, otherwise it would be...
Well, that's true, they'll say, well, the single vaccine doesn't cause the symptoms you're talking about. Well, you gave my child 6 vaccines at once.
And here's what happened, Clint. Okay. I had my loved one on a particular protocol, and it worked. So she didn't have to dialyze for 2 months. So after the protocol ceased, the kidney function regressed, and I had to go back into dialysis. So we went in, and normally there'd be 20 patients, and when we show up, like, I don't know, October, there was only 2. And so I inquired out of fascination, thinking that they were on a fall color tour, a group fall color tour, the Canadian Algonquin train, I thought. And the tech looked around and whispered, no, they all died, she said. I said, oh, by any chance did they all take the shots? She shook her head, yeah. They all took the shots, and they all died. How do you like that? So, afterward, when I saw the charge nurse again, I said, well, I wonder how many of those patients got the opportunity of informed consent with the research study data for safety and efficacy. And she quickly, went the other way, of course. And then today, I got a little uppity, and I thought, oh, let's have some fun. I'm going to call a Presbyterian minister, because I read about a book called St. Andrew's American Revolution about, some true blue patriots that opposed federal government tyranny and wanted nothing to do with that after the Revolutionary War. So anyway, I get this guy, and in the process, I nail him down on Romans 13, and I demanded some response relative to the fact that it appears to intimate that no matter what, we are to support the government, that the higher powers of so-called government are ordained by God. He says, well, what it really means is we are directed to be good citizens, so we should work hard, pay our taxes, and vote. I said, you sound like you're a clone of Senator John Cohen Kerry. And I said, hey, by the way, what about the parable of the talents? Because that smacks me as, usury. Somebody kind of snuck it in there to rationalize, justify, authorize usury. Oh, no, that's about the talents that you've been given from God. I said, well, there's a real-world example here. I brought in the loan process, the promissory note, and how it's all intrinsically fraudulent because the contracting borrower, once they create the promissory note, it becomes the currency. And as you said the other night, hey, why not take that promissory note that I just created with my autograph as the authorized signature, and I'll just cash it out. As soon as I brought it up to this guy, I said, this is right out of the Uniform Commercial Code. Here he is, a Presbyterian minister. Here's his response. Well, I'll have you know I'm a lawyer, and I'm intimately familiar with the UCC, and that is not in there. And I don't want to discuss this anymore. And he hung up. A Presbyterian minister. All right. Hallelujah.
Wait. Did you say a minister who's also a lawyer?
Yes, I kid you not.
Of all things, that should tell you not to go to that church, I'll tell you that much.
Well, of course. Or if I want to really mess with his brain and psyche and all that, I'm still going to show up, and have, play this dude like a stupid drummer boy.
Yeah. Well, I suggest you go back to Romans 13 and you look up every single word, because I'm looking at it right now, actually, and it's, ordinance of God, ordained of God. Yeah, they're not talking about God here. Obviously, they're Romans. Thanks for the call, my friend. We'll be back. Take some more calls.
See the frightened ones. Did you hear the falling bombs? Did you ever wonder why we had to run for shelter when the promise of a brave new world unfurled beneath the clear blue sky?
All right, folks, welcome back. Well, looks like Richard hung up. Let's take Jim in Illinois. Jim, welcome to the show.
Hey, howdy, Clint.
How you doing?
Buddy, I just want to thank you, man, for the effort you put into your show and educating your listeners. You're awesome, dude. The people you have on, Bert, Dan, Tammy Pepperman, some of the medical stuff you talk about, that it's just awesome. And as far as resonating, the first time I heard you, man, you rung my bell, and I've been resonating ever since, dude. And,
thanks. I appreciate it.
And I'll tell you, man, it just gave me a whole new perspective, between you and your guest, what's really gotten down with this law and legal thing. Now, I'm still a bit new to the game as far as this new way of understanding it. There's some of the things I did understand before, but, it's like, holy cow, this is taking it to a whole new level. And, yeah, I used to be really in love with, our founding documents in this nation and that. But after listening to you and some of your guests and then doing some of the research, you talk about that, I go, man, I'm just not impressed with this anymore, with these founding documents, and I'm not impressed with our founding quote unquote fathers. And it's like I'm very grateful for the change you have made in my life. I just wish that some of the other people who think they can restore this Constitution and that realize, man, that damn piece of paper is a damn, how do I want to say it, title to us slaves, So that's all I got to say, man.
Well, I appreciate it. You know, there's one word that always has bothered me because of the way it's structured, and I've never really thought to look it up, so I just looked it up. And, you know, one of the founding documents is Declaration of Independence, right? Right. And, you know, I'm looking at the word independent, I'm reading it, and I'm thinking, oh, I get it now, because of all these other words I'm starting to understand. Now, when the colonists came over here, they basically were in what was called congregational churches, where the church was basically acting as government in the little colonies, you know, penal colonies. And these guys didn't want that. They didn't want the church to be government. They wanted to centralize government, those quote-unquote founding dudes. So I'm looking at the word independent, the noun version. And listen to this, because I think this will make a lot of sense. One who in religious affairs, so the Declaration of Independence was really, honestly, a declaration of becoming your own religion, basically. One who in religious affairs maintains that every congregation of Christians is a complete church, subject to no superior authority, and competent to perform every act of government in ecclesiastical affairs. So the Declaration of Independence didn't make men free. All it did was make the churches over here separate from, in other words, the government, the churches, separate from the... it's hard to explain, but the Declaration of Independence basically was a declaration that you were under different governance. It wasn't a declaration of being free. It's hard to explain that, but this actually makes it make a little more sense.
Yeah, you know, I tried to equate this. John Statmiller gave me a call at my home phone last Saturday, you know, because one of the guests, man, they had somebody on there, some babe, talking about how hot she was, and she's 47, and you know, guys her son's age are hitting on her, and I'm thinking, what am I listening to this for? I turned it off, but I shot John a email. He called me back, you know, and you know, I was just explaining to him, man, you know, I just lost my train of thought where I was going with this damn thing, but anyway, I'm burned up. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Clint. I lost my train of thought. It's gone, buddy.
Well, it happens.
Yeah. Hey, all I know is, I appreciate what you do, man. I appreciate it.
All right, man. Well, I thank you. Thanks for the call, and I'll keep doing it.
Hey, I keep you in my thoughts and prayers, and libertas, baby. Libertas.
All right, man. Take it easy.
Take it easy. Bye.
All right, that gives us time for one more call. Hopefully, we have Eric in California on the line.
Hey, Clint. Hi, everybody.
How's it going?
Oh, good. I just wanted to, call in and express my appreciation. I'm a trucker from Cali and California, and just want to express my appreciation for this Corporation Nation radio show. I've been getting a lot of good information. I appreciate Bert and Dan and all that they're bringing to the show.
Well, I'm glad to hear. I'm glad everybody's enjoying it. I've sure been enjoying it. I mean, it's a learning process for me too, as well. So, I mean, they're blowing my minds equally as much as yours, I suppose.
Yeah, I got a question for you. What were do you know the 12 apostles?
By name, no, but yeah.
Oh, it's just, well, what do you think their last name is? How come we never hear, it's Peter Schabowski, like Paul Steinman or anything? You ever notice there's no last names with those guys?
Well, it's a good point. Jesus was Jesus of Nazareth, not a Jesus Richardson or Jesus Christ. He was Jesus of Nazareth. He only had his. I guess it's a little premature to say he had a Christian name, but he only used his given name. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I love that You know, it's like, who would Jesus bomb? You know? Where would Jesus frack?
Well, that concept, the whole "what would Jesus do" is, I used to think it was kind of silly, but now that I understand that you got it's a big lesson plan basically, and to teach you how not to harm others and how to be caretaker of the earth, I'm like, okay, wonder what it says about this. So yeah, your perspective certainly does change when you understand what's going on in this book. So, well, what's the trucker scene? What's the trucker scene like? Is it? Do you find that a lot of people are in the? I know you guys have a lot of time to listen, and probably most of you listen to. What do they call it now?
Curious.
Yeah. Well, what's the going feeling out there? Do you find a lot of people that are, I guess, if you want to use the word awake, people that understand what's happening? What's going on out there?
No, I say not on the whole. You know, it's just the people who listen to this show are, you know, in a class by themselves, and I'm so busy most of the time. I'm just working most of the time that I really don't usually have time for truck stop, you know, conversations and getting into anything very deep in a truck stop. Usually just enough time to get the food down and keep rolling. So I don't really know what's, but you know.
No one more than you understands the concept of employing your time wisely. Because if you don't roll, you don't get paid. You don't get those miles, right?
No. Yep. Yeah, and yeah, you do. And I'm having a lot of good results with Dr. Ott's Minerals. I'm on his men's health program, and
good.
I'm getting the right fats and cholesterol, like you were talking about before. Cholesterol is good. And man, my life is just changing.
Well, I'm pleased to hear it, man. Thanks for the call. We're sadly out of time yet again. Well, I'm glad to hear that the show's being well received. I appreciate the callers. Even though nobody called me for the first entire hour and a half of the show, I'm feeling so lonely there for a minute. And I ran out of things to talk about. My goodness. All right, folks. Join me Monday. We'll have a secret guest on Monday that, gosh, we can't publicize who's going to be a guest because they cut off people's phone lines. It's horrible. Take care, folks. Have a good weekend.